Hi, and welcome to Family Health. I'm Dr. Kathy, and on today's episode, life's little annoyances and how they can really add up. If you've been experiencing some of the little annoyances of life, but you've been able to dismiss them, you'll realize that over time you can't quite dismiss those little annoyances. Now, what are some of the things that have been bothering you? Well, maybe you can't eat your favorite food anymore. Maybe now when you eat your favorite food, you get a little indigestion. Maybe you get a little bit of that acid, that burning, or maybe you just get a little gassy or feel a little bit of bloating. If your favorite foods are no longer your favorite food because your body just doesn't seem to handle them well anymore, well, that's one of life's little annoyances that can really add up. Now, after a while has gone by, if you're not improving your digestive system, you may start to notice that certain foods can really wreak havoc on your digestion. Maybe certain foods cause you to have to run to the restroom. Maybe certain foods will not agree with you to the point where you'll end up with diarrhea for several hours, or maybe it will lead to constipation, or maybe it's just that gassy, bloating, indigestion feeling that's not quite making you someone who wants to be around other people or feels comfortable eating your favorite foods in a public setting. So what exactly is going on? Why is it that your favorite foods no longer work with you? Has something changed with the food, or has something changed with your body? Well, more often than not, it's your body that is no longer able to process the foods that you enjoy. So what happens that could allow your body to no longer process your favorite foods? Well, other lifestyle choices can be a big factor in your digestion. The amount of water that you drink, the amount of fiber that's in your food, the exercises that you do, the position that you're in for the majority of the day, and your levels of stress and how you deal with stress are a huge factor in how your body is able to process the foods that you give it. So let's talk first about water. We've all heard the recommendation that we should drink 8-ounce glasses of water a day. Now, not many people actually stick to that recommendation, but that recommendation is for a normal, healthy person who's not dealing with any lifestyle challenges. That recommendation is for someone who doesn't already consume caffeine, because the consumption of caffeine actually requires more water to help flush that out of your system. That recommendation is not for someone who exercises long periods of time, especially if you're in a hot environment or you're in a very heated room or you're producing a lot of sweat when you exercise. Obviously, you'll need to replace that water. And that recommendation of 8-ounce glasses just isn't enough for anyone who's been dealing with any kind of chronic health issues, like arthritis or heart disease or lung issues or cancer. Because once your body is in a chronic state of battling a health condition, you need more of what it takes to get healthy, just to get back to the starting point. Think of it as a sliding scale where 0 is the starting point. If you start to go into the negative section, well, it's a lot harder for you to get to 0, and it's a lot harder for you to get up to 100% health. As soon as you start dropping down, we need more of what it takes to get you healthy. So water is one of those recommendations that 8-ounce glasses sometimes just isn't enough. So how do you know if you're drinking enough water? Well, if your mouth ever gets dry, unless you've got a condition going on that causes your mouth to get dry, you're more than likely dehydrated, because your mouth should not get dry. So if your mouth is getting dry, that's your first indication that we need to drink more water. Well, what about your skin? If your skin feels dry, if your hands feel dry, if your nails crack and are brittle and they snap off at the slightest pressure, well, your nails and your skin are getting dry. And the same thing works for your hair. If your hair starts to feel brittle, well, that's a byproduct of a long-term dehydration. One of the easiest ways that we can tell if you're dehydrated is by following your digestion. And if you look at what's going on with your digestion, you can determine how much water you've been consuming and if it's enough for your body. So there's two things we look at when we look at digestion. Number one, this is the question that everybody's afraid to ask: what is your bowel movement supposed to look like? Well, a bowel movement should be soft and it should be easy to pass, and it should break up when you flush the toilet. That lets us know that there's enough fiber, there's enough fat, and there's enough fluid in your bowel movement. If it's solid as a rock, well, that just tells us that your body has been dehydrated. And conversely, if you've got a very, very loose, runny stool, well, that tells us that for some reason, whether it's because you're not feeling well, or you have a virus, or because you don't have proper nerve supply, or because you ate something that your body just doesn't agree with, that runny stool is pulling a lot of fluid out of your body. So looking at the bowel movements is one way that we can tell through your digestion whether or not you're consuming enough water. But the second way is to look at the color and the clarity of your urine. Most people are under the impression that your urine should be yellow, but in actuality, it should be clear and colorless. When it's clear and colorless, you can be sure that you're consuming enough water to filter out and process out all of the chemicals, all of the nutrients, all of the byproducts, everything that you've eaten. You're able to flush it out of your body because you're consuming enough water. So our big tip for today is to make sure that you're drinking enough water by being sure that you're consuming a minimum of 8-ounce glasses of water a day. And if you're doing any kind of activity, if you're exercising, if you're outside biking, if you're doing yoga in a heated environment, or if you're battling any chronic illnesses such as asthma, allergies, eczema, or if you have arthritis, then you should be consuming additional water. Okay? So we're going to increase your water intake. That's rule number one, to get rid of some of life's little annoyances. Now, one of the other tips that we need to do is to make sure that you're getting enough fiber in your diet. Because if we don't have enough fiber, we can't push the food through our digestive system. Think of fiber kind of like a roto-rooter that goes through and cleans out your plumbing. If you have enough fiber, it's going to go through and really just push all of the other food through the digestive system. But if you don't consume enough fiber, the food that you ate will just sit there in your intestines. And after your body has already absorbed the nutrients from the food, that waste product will sit there and just get more and more and more compacted into your digestive system if you don't have the fiber behind it to push it through. So water and fiber are our two big tips today so far to tackle life's little annoyances such as gas and bloating and digestive issues. Now, the recommendation for fiber is that you should consume between 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. But here's the kicker. The average adult in the United States consumes between 5 and 7 grams of fiber a day. Not even half of what they should be consuming. So how do we increase your fiber? Well, you start by incorporating fresh fruits and vegetables into every meal that you eat. So when you wake up in the morning, you can add some fruit. For your snack, make sure that you're incorporating fruits or vegetables. Very simple. Throw some carrots in a zip-top bag, or chop up some celery, maybe add a little bit of peanut butter to it, or incorporate raisins into your routine. Whatever fruits and vegetables you like, find a way to use those as your snacks throughout the course of the day. And then when it comes to mealtime, be sure that the majority of your plate is loaded down with your vegetables and your fruit. Okay? So that's how you can incorporate more fiber into your routine. Now, the biggie that's going to make the difference for whether or not your body is functioning properly and whether or not your digestive system is functioning properly is to make sure that your digestive system gets the signals that it needs to do what it needs to do. So let's think about what tells your digestive system how to function. Well, what is the master control system of the human body? I'll give you another hint. It is the very first structure that develops in a developing baby. Still guessing? It is what controls your thoughts, your actions, your movements, and every muscle, every organ, every tissue, and every system in your body. You give up? It's the nervous system. Your nervous system is the very first structure that developed in your body when your mother first conceived you. And it is the very system that controlled and coordinated the development of every cell, every tissue, every organ, and every system in your body throughout those 9 months that you were growing within your mother's womb. But it didn't stop there. Your nervous system continues to function and control the coordination of every cell, tissue, organ, and system in your body until the day you take your very last breath. So when we talk about digestion, we would be remiss to not talk about the nervous system. So when we talk about digestion, we would be remiss to not talk about your nervous system, because your nervous system is the master control system that determines whether or not your organs and systems are functioning properly. So when it comes to life's little annoyances, and digestion being one of those that most people don't want to discuss, it's important to think about the nervous system and how it's functioning and how its role could be affecting your ability to enjoy your favorite foods. Don't go away, because when we come back, we're going to really dig deep into how the nervous system is actually affecting your body's ability to process all of the foods that you love, to digest your favorite foods, and to enjoy life to your fullest extent. We'll see you back in just a moment.